my name is Tim Eyman, and this is my daughter Riley. Let's hear for Riley. Oh, hey, I'm so grateful for having a chance to be able to talk with all of you about Loren Culp for governor. Let's hear for Loren. But I want to be totally fair. Can we hear from all the pro-Inslee people in the room? Nothing. What are some words you think of when you think of the name Jay Inslee? What words do you think of?
Idiot.
It's a family event. Let's stop that. Riley, do you have a word that pops into your head when you think of our governor?
I think he's a snake.
Yeah.
Wait, that might be a little offensive to snakes.
So true. No, it is a great honor for me to be able to talk about Loren Culp in this run for governor. Now, obviously, I ran against him, and what I'm really impressed with is he beat me, and he beat me bad. I think that's good. Because you don't second guess anything that happened. Because what I love about Loren Culp is the work ethic that we saw throughout this campaign.
That's right.
That's what it is about hard work. And Loren Culp is putting in the time, putting in the effort. I thought I was working my butt off out there with Riley. Loren Culp is busting his butt to win this election. Let's say thank you to him for that. She just said you got this, and so that's why she's here. She keeps me pumped up. No, the thing that is amazing to me about Jay Inslee, and the challenge that we always have is what pisses us off the most about Jay Inslee?
Everything.
There's a lot to work with. $1 billion to Nigerian princes. That's hard to top. That one's tough. How about $5 million of taxpayer money to run for president? Did it really take $5 million for us to learn that 0% of Democrat voters wanted him to be president? I think we could have known that for free. But the thing that is the most annoying and infuriating about Jay Inslee is the fact that he promised when he ran for office as a candidate in 2012, is he said, I will veto any tax increase if elected. And now here we are. He has raised taxes 33 times in the last 8 years, and that has cost the taxpayers of the people of the state of Washington $52.1 billion. So he lied to us 33 times. He lied to us, and it cost us $52.1 billion. So when they're out there criticizing Loren Culp is able to say, at least I didn't send $1 billion to Nigeria.
That's right.
But really, for me, and it is hard to not take this personally, is he said we were confused by $30 tabs. Riley, what is the $30 tabs initiative about?
We want that.
$30 car tabs.
We want it.
Now, she's 12 people, and she gets this. But Jay Inslee said the voters of the state of Washington were confused about an initiative about a dollar amount.
We want that.
It wasn't $31. It wasn't $29. It's that one in the middle. And so Loren Culp understands the will of the people. Loren Culp is willing to stand up for us and fight for our $30 tabs if we elect him. And I challenge you, the people that are here are for Loren Culp. Show of hands, who's for Loren Culp? Riley right now is going to say 2 words. She's going to say them over and over again. I'm wondering if you can help her by responding to it. What are those 2 words?
Culp 2020.
What was it again?
Culp 2020.
What?
Culp 2020.
Culp 2020! Culp 2020! Culp 2020! Culp 2020! What is so fantastic about the Loren Culp campaign is the energy that he's been able to generate.
Yep.
These kind of rallies are like nothing we've ever seen in the state of Washington.
Wow.
Give yourselves a round of applause for this. This is wonderful. It's a beautiful Saturday night, and we're out here listening to people that talk about politics. What's that say about us? We're just a little off, aren't we? But really, it's about all of us reaching out to other people throughout the state of Washington. We need to get even more people voting for Loren Culp. And you have the advantage of having somebody working every day to get him elected. Who is that person that's helping Loren Culp win this campaign?
All of us.
Jay Inslee.
Jay Inslee. You almost think he's like a campaign manager, because every day he's coming up with new ideas that says, you know what, I think Loren Culp would do better than this. It is a non-stop screw-up by Jay Inslee. Every day is an adventure. I remember being told there were 4 phases. Phase 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then one day he holds a press conference and we find
1.5.
1.5. Where did that come from? Just one day. He just decided 1.5. Why not? Let's just make that up. He even banned fishing in the state of Washington. But it's an incredibly clever virus, because we learned that under the Jay Inslee rule, that if you're sitting in a rowboat in the middle of a lake and your hook is in the water, you are susceptible to COVID. But if you're sitting in a rowboat in the middle of the lake and the hook is not in the water, you are safe.
That's right.
This is an amazing thing. We learned this new one. When is COVID attacking people when they're at a bar?
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock.
9:59, you're safe.
9:59, you're safe. At 10:01, it leaps out. And that's when COVID actually attacks all of us. Every day is an adventure with Jay Inslee. We find out new rules every single day. Loren Culp believes in one rule, and that is the Constitution.
That's right.
Does the Constitution change on a daily basis?
No.
It is rock solid.
250 years.
If you are absolutely following the Constitution, the job isn't that tough. But when you're Jay Inslee, and every day you're just coming up with new stuff. Every press conference, you get to find out what new stupid things Jay Inslee thought of that day. It is a non-stop screw-up, and I find it infuriating. And what I love about Loren Culp is you already know what he will do, because he knows the Constitution.
That's right.
He respects the Constitution.
That's right.
The thing that I love about Loren Culp the most is that when bully Bob Ferguson said to Loren Culp, "How dare you stand up for people's rights on the Second Amendment?" He said, "I'm not going to be intimidated by you, Bob Ferguson. I'm going to stand up for the Constitution and the people of the state of Washington." Now, I'm having the joy and pleasure of an 8-year non-stop fight with Bob Ferguson. So when I'm seeing somebody like Loren Culp standing up to bully Bob and doing everything he can to say, "I pledged an oath to the Constitution not to have a agreement with the Attorney General. I'm standing up for our constitutional rights." Now, I'm in the midst of this 8-year fight. It's a non-stop fight. It is awful. And let me tell you just one part of it. This lawsuit says, I want to prohibit Tim Eyman for the rest of his life from being politically active in the state of Washington. For the rest of my life. a lifetime ban on political future activity.
We love you, Tim.
I'm telling you, I am so grateful to the people that have helped over the years with this incredible fight that we're in. Next to the swag table is me begging for money, legal defense fund, if you can help with that. One of the advantages you get in politics and after you get sued for 8 years is the skill of shamelessness. You kind of give up the idea of pride and you set it all aside and you say, I need to survive this thing, not just for me, because if he takes me out, you could be next. The thing that I would really ask of all of you is Loren Culp is somebody that we can all rally around. What he is standing up for, the constitutional rights that we all believe in, the right to be able to speak, the right to be able to defend ourselves, law-abiding citizens. Any Second Amendment people out there? I remember the first debate we were in, and they asked me about the Second Amendment. I said, well, I'm in complete support of it, but that's Loren's lane. I'm not even going to even try and compete with that one. Just an amazing guy. The last story I want to tell is about $30 tabs, because this, to me, is the worst of Jay Inslee, is that here we are on election night, and I'm here with my daughter, who you see has got this bedazzled shirt. Her aunt did that to her, by the way. Really awesome. But it was an amazing evening, because they had spent 11 months educating everyone on why you can't vote for this awful, awful initiative. And this Tim Eyman guy, you can't like him. He's really, really bad. And so we're together on election night, and we don't know the results yet. And I turned to her, and we had this private moment before we knew the outcome of the election. And I said to her, Riley, the universe would not be the way it was supposed to be if you weren't here with me tonight. Because we had worked so hard over the previous years collecting signatures together at fairs, which are banned now, and all this time together, but you needed to be here with me because this may be the last initiative I'm ever able to do because of Ferguson. And her immediate response to me was,
I'll carry it on.
Mic drop. And I reminded her she was 12. And I said, you're going to go to Wazoo, and you're going to end up getting a veterinary degree. And her response was,
I'll do it after.
So Miss Riley here is standing next to me, and we have this amazing moment where we find out the results of the election. And I'm pretty dumbfounded by the whole thing. It was a pretty neat experience, but she did not hesitate. What did you do, Riley?
I grabbed his hand and I said, arms up.
And I have no idea what she's talking about. And so she grabs my hand. So she did a media stunt. You have no idea how father's ever been more proud. She did a media stunt. She has seen her father for 12 years do crazy things in order to get media attention. And here she is doing that. So it's the most amazing evening in the world. And what ends up happening within days of that, Jay Inslee said, I'm blocking it. I'm refusing to implement it. And the reason why, the voters were confused. We were confused by an initiative that we voted for 3 different times, and we voted for it overwhelmingly, and he blocked it from taking effect. We are not paying $30 for tabs because of one person, because of Jay Inslee. And if we elect Loren Culp, we will get those $30 tabs that we have voted for. So I think it's really important that together we can bring common sense to Olympia and help me out, and lead Washington. You do it.
And lead Washington's comeback.
And lead Washington's comeback. I was practicing for hours and I can't even get it. But I think it is important that together we can bring common sense to Olympia.
Yes.
And we can lead Washington forward. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put your hands together for the next governor of the state of Washington.
Loren, go!
Thank you all for being here tonight. Look around you. Look around you. These are patriotic Americans I'm standing in front of right now, right? Yes. You know, not everybody. Remember back in the Revolutionary War, we learned about the Concord Bridge in high school and junior high. Not everybody showed up at the Concord Bridge, right?
Right.
But the people that did changed the history of the entire world. And we are here to change history in Washington State tonight. Thank you. I absolutely love this state. I was born and raised here. How many people have been to a Culp for Governor rally before? Excellent. We have some new people, so let me introduce myself to you. Tell you a little bit of history about me, why I'm standing in front of you right now, what events happened in my life to lead me here tonight, right now, as the Republican nominee for governor of Washington State. I was born and raised in this state. My dad was a deputy sheriff. My mom worked at the post office. I grew up in a small farming community in Jefferson County called Chimacum, Washington. Very small town. Grew up on a family farm. In my freshman year of high school, my parents moved to Eastern Washington. My dad got out of law enforcement, and I went to high school in Chimacum. That's where I met my high school sweetheart, Barb. We've been married for 43 years this year. We've got 2 grown sons and 7 grandkids that live down by Olympia. At the age of 19, I joined the United States Army. I served for 4 years active duty, 2 years reserve. I was a sergeant, and I was a combat engineer. And for those of you that don't know what a combat engineer does, we blow things up. And we are going to blow up this election in November. I also went to drill sergeant school at Fort Leonard, Missouri, where I then helped to turn civilians into soldiers. I served for 1 year overseas in South Korea. And at the end of my 4 years, Barb and I decided to leave the service after serving 4 years under one of the greatest presidents of my lifetime, President Ronald Reagan. Yes. And we moved our young family to the Olympia area. I learned the trades. I went to work for other people doing concrete foundations and framing houses and doing driveways. And I learned those trades. I worked for other people for about 3 years. And then in 1988, I started my own construction business from basically nothing. And I'll tell you how nothing that was, right? It was in 1988. And I bought a 1977 Datsun pickup truck from my grandpa for $600 on payments. I had 1 employee. But I was realizing my American dream, right? I was running my own business. I wasn't working for anybody else. But I built that business up. I ran it for over 20 years in the Olympia area. I built it up from that 1 little truck and 1 employee to several employees and vehicles doing jobs all around Puget Sound. And after running that for about 20 years, I decided to realize my childhood dream and become a police officer at the age of 49. I applied for the job opening in the city of Republic, where I went to high school, where I met my high school sweetheart. And I got accepted. I went through the police academy at 49 years old with a class about half my age. A lot of them called me Grandpa. But I made it through, became a police officer, realized my childhood dream. I've been a patrol officer. I've been the sergeant for the force. I've been a canine handler. And the last 4 years, I've been the chief of police in Republic.
Yes. Yes.
And I also spent 3 years as a narcotics detective,
Yes.
working with the North Central Washington Narcotics Task Force. In 2018, a series of events started happening in my life that led me to being right here in front of you right now. You remember that anti-gun initiative 1639 that passed in this state? In 2018, that banned 18 to 21-year-olds, military-age adults, from buying a semi-automatic rifle. If they already own one, they could not leave their property with it. I knew that that was unconstitutional. You know, we all know what the Second Amendment says, but the Washington State Constitution is even more explicit than the Second Amendment. Article 1, Section 24 says that the right of the individual citizen to bear arms in defense of himself or the state shall not be impaired. That one simple sentence, right? Easily understood. I took an oath of office to uphold and defend the Constitution of the state of Washington as a police officer. Twice. Once when I first became a police officer, and then when I was promoted to chief of police. I knew that it was unconstitutional. I knew that I would be violating citizens' constitutional rights if I arrested people. The day after that initiative passed, I was asked that very question by citizens that I serve. Are you going to start arresting 18 to 21-year-olds who you see with a semi-automatic rifle? And my answer was, no, I'm not going to do that. Because it violates their constitutional rights. Now, it wouldn't have mattered to me if this was a violation of their First Amendment, Third Amendment, Fourth Amendment, Fifth Amendment rights. It was a violation of their constitutional rights that are given to us by our Creator and protected by the Constitution. It didn't matter which amendment it was. It just so happened it was the Second Amendment, and that was a bridge too far. I'm not going to violate citizens' rights. That's what we're taught as police officers, is do not violate citizens' constitutional rights, or you're going to be in trouble. My stance on that got me on the national news. I was on Fox and Friends, I was on the Daily Ledger, on One American News Network, and I was on the Tucker Carlson show because of my stance. Yeah, we love Tucker, right? Tucker Carlson. I had no idea why that was happening. It should not be an anomaly for a public servant to stand up for citizens' rights and uphold their oath of office, right? But it apparently was national news. And I thought, after all this media attention, because I did hundreds of radio and newspaper interviews all across the United States because of my stance. I thought after all of these interviews, all of this publicity, that chiefs of police and sheriffs all across this state would stand up for citizens' rights like I did. Right? They took the same oath. They've read, or I assume they read, the same document, the Constitution. But that didn't happen at first. And I thought, well, what in the heck is going on? The only thing I could come up with is that we are all pretty much a product of the public school systems, which don't teach us about the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, and the duty of public servants to stand up for citizens' rights. We have some very good teachers. I don't even think that they're taught those things in college. I know that lawyers are not taught constitutional law in law school. They're taught case law. The Constitution is a very important document. The Washington State Constitution, Article 1, Section 1 says that the power is inherent in the people and government is there to protect citizens' rights. Is that awesome or what? That's the very first thing that the founders of Washington State decided to write when they decided to form the state of Washington and write up the rule book for our government. Article 1, Section 1, the very first thing they wrote, the power is inherent in the people and government is there to protect their rights. That's powerful. That is very powerful. So I knew that I could not violate my oath of office. So I decided I needed to get this information that's in my head, that my parents instilled in me. My parents were very patriotic. They taught myself and my brothers about the rule of law, about the Constitution, that we are a constitutional republic, and the duty of public servants and the government is to protect citizens' rights. So in December of 2018, I wrote a book called American Cop.
Yeah.
That was, thank you. That was published on President's Day of 2019, and it went to #1 on Amazon in multiple categories. That led me to being invited around the state to speak at Republican Party Lincoln Day dinners and sportsman shows about citizens' rights, the role of government, and the Constitution. Every weekend in the spring and summer of 2019, I was traveling somewhere around this state, speaking to citizens groups about what we need to do to uphold and defend that Constitution, which is the rule of law. That led to people asking me to run for governor. You know, they read American Cop, they heard me speak, and more people were coming out as we got into the summer of 2019. More and more people were asking the same thing. You know, will you run for governor? We got to get Jay Inslee out of there and get somebody in there that will stand up for our rights. So in July, I talked to Barb, and we decided that, yeah, we have 2 grown sons and 7 grandkids in this state, and it's about time somebody stood up for their rights and everybody else's rights, and I jumped in with both feet. At my announcement speech in the City Park of Republic, about 120 people came out. And I talked about some issues that we're facing in this state. One of the biggest ones is not too much on the news anymore because other things have taken its place. And I'll talk about those here in a minute. But the biggest thing that the state is facing is this so-called homeless crisis, right? People living on the streets, tent cities, garbage, feces, everywhere. Crime is out of control. But I didn't call it a homeless crisis because it's not mostly about homes. As a narcotics detective, I know that it's mostly about addiction and a mental health crisis that we're having. And until the state faces that fact and really deals with the problem, which is going to continue and it's going to get worse. You can go to places like Seattle and here in King County and have 7 or 8 grams of heroin on you and the police will not arrest you because the prosecutors say they will not prosecute because the left believes that it's not compassionate to put an addict in jail. And I have found exactly the opposite to be true. We had a zero tolerance policy. If you have residue of heroin in a baggie in this state, it is a felony.
That's right.
And we would arrest them. They'd go to jail. They'd see the judge. The judge would give them a choice. They can go to prison or they can go to treatment. And most people chose treatment. And a funny thing started happening. People would get their head clear. They'd get off the drugs. They'd get out. They'd get a job. They'd get their little kids back. And they would come back and give me a hug and thank me for saving their life. It's called tough love. Right? That's what it takes. That's compassion. Leaving people stuck on the streets of this cycle of addiction is nothing close to compassion. But that's what the left thinks. That's what the left wants to do. That's what Jay Inslee wants to do. What ends up happening when you have policies like that is you attract people from all over the country to come to places that are run by the liberal Democrats that allow that kind of behavior. Because when you allow bad behavior, you get more and more bad behavior. That's why we've seen this big influx of people living on the streets, because they come here from all over the country because of the lax policies. We need to have tough love. Have to. We have to help the people that are stuck in this cycle of addiction. We are spending millions and millions of taxpayer dollars right now on this problem and not fixing it. I toured a facility down in Longview months ago that used to take mostly state funding. But with the state funding comes the state rules. And they had to be a zero threshold entry program where people could come and go, very lax rules, but they were only getting single-digit success rates. And the board of directors got together, because that's why they formed this group down there in Longview, was to help the people, get people off the streets, out of addiction. Single-digit success rate is what they were having. The board of directors got together. They decided to completely change the format, change the rules, quit taking mostly state funding so that they could make up their own rules. Now they have a locked door, security cameras, security guards, mental health professionals, drug counselors. They've got a daycare for family units when the parents are looking for a job or going to counseling. And they've gone from single-digit success rates to 76% success. I want to take that model all across this state to all of the facilities so we quit wasting taxpayer money and actually help someone. Right? Right now we're wasting millions and millions of taxpayer dollars. It's pathetic. But if you look at what these corporations that are getting millions of taxpayer dollars are doing, they're donating to the Democrat Party and Jay Inslee's campaign. Kind of gives you an idea why it's a vicious cycle that's not fixing, right? We need that tough love. We need people in programs that actually work and help them and get them off the drugs. And the mental health crisis. Police officers every single day deal with people that are in crisis, mental health crisis, people that have tried to kill themselves. I got a call, a 911 call, to go to a home where the mom had taken a hose hooked to the exhaust pipe of her car, ran it through the window, and started the car and got in. Her kids called 911. I went there, just like we do on all these calls, and I got her out of the car, took her to the hospital so that she could meet with the first level mental health counselor. And they determined that, yes, this person needs more help, needs higher level of care. They call around the state to try to find a bed to help this person. And 9 times out of 10, there is not a bed available, and they're turned back out on the street within a couple hours. That is not compassion. That is not helping people. But Jay Inslee, under his superior guidance, lost certification to Western State Hospital. And with that went millions and millions of federal dollars that were helping the state. Lost the certification because of mismanagement. It was not safe for the patients. It was not safe for the people that worked in there. So they got a budget together, $33 million, taxpayer money, to upgrade Western State Hospital, make it safe for the patients, make it safe for the staff. $24 million of that has been spent, the last report that I read. $24 million of that $33 million of taxpayer dollars had been spent. Only $8 million of it went to the contractor actually doing the work, and the rest of it was spent on administrative costs, and now there's a lawsuit between the contractor and the state, and it's still not fixed. Is that acceptable to anyone? That just shows the bad management of Jay Inslee. That it falls right at his feet. We have got to get him out of office come November. Is anybody happy with the way that Chaz and Chop were handled? I am among good people. I can tell that right now. You guys get it. We all have a First Amendment right to peaceably assemble, speak our mind, go to the church of our choice, right? We are exercising our First Amendment right now. Doesn't it feel great? And from the video that I saw, that police officer putting his knee on that man's neck, Mr. Floyd, he killed him. From the video that I saw. And protesting that is absolutely warranted.
That's right.
I want to remind everybody, though, that good police officers arrested the bad ones and put them in jail.
That's right.
Right? We need to back the blue, not defund the blue. Police officers go about doing their job. There's about 800,000 police officers across this nation. They go about doing their job, protecting good citizens, putting criminals in jail every single day, every single night, all year long. The left wants to divide everyone and say that all police officers are racist killers. That's absolutely not true and unacceptable. The police and our military will be honored when I am governor. I can guarantee you that right now. We are not going to defund the police. So Jay Inslee, after these riots started that he didn't even know about, at the request of local law enforcement state patrol, he sent in the National Guard because the governor is the commander-in-chief of the Washington State National Guard. He sent them in there to help local law enforcement because things were getting out of control. But what did he do first? He disarmed them. He sent our young men and women in uniform into a violent situation without the means to protect themselves or other people. That's what they're going in there for. Things are out of control. Local law enforcement state patrol can't handle it. They're going in there as backup, but he disarmed our young men and women in uniform and sent them in there. And then eventually they pulled everybody out and started negotiating. When I am governor and there's a riot, I will have the National Guard spun up and staged close to where the violence is happening with the means to protect themselves. And when the local law enforcement, the state patrol call for backup because things are out of control, they will be there in minutes, not hours and days like with Jay Inslee, and they will shut it down and arrest the people committing crimes. That's how you deal with a riot. Like I said, protesting is our First Amendment right. But when it turns violent, people are looting buildings. They're lighting buildings and cars on fire. They're throwing rocks and frozen water bottles at our police. That is no longer a First Amendment protected right. That's a riot and it's a crime, and it will be shut down when I'm governor. Is anybody happy with the way Jay Inslee handled this virus? I love you people. You guys are awesome. No, absolutely not. He picked winners and losers, right?
Open it up.
He said that if you had a pot store, abortion clinic, or a big box store, you could be open. You could go to work. But if you owned a mom and pop cafe, if you owned a gun store or a church or a barber shop or a salon, you had to shut down. It was his stay home, go broke order. And it broke a lot of people. There are a lot of people, a lot of businesses that went under that are never coming back.
Open it up.
It's pathetic.
He is pathetic.
And it's all based on what Jay Inslee thinks and what his consultants, by the way, which we are paying $160,000 a week to tell him what to say. On a no-bid contract, because he declared a state of emergency, Jay Inslee hired this company for $160,000 a week. Is that acceptable to anyone? It's pathetic.
Pathetic. He is pathetic.
So he's picking winners and losers. He's telling who can work and who can't. Because apparently he thinks the virus knows which buildings it can go into and which ones it can't. Right? Does that make any sense? A barber who's cutting one person's hair at a time could operate safely safer than a big box store with 100 or 150 people in it, right? Is that common sense? Right? The barber Bob up in Snohomish County, he's been fined $90,000 by Jay Inslee for cutting one person's hair at a time. This man has had a business in this state since the 60s.
In the name of God.
And Jay Inslee is fining him $90,000 for cutting one person's hair at a time because he dared to stand up to Jay Inslee. That is pathetic. That is unacceptable. And we need to kick his ass out of office in November. There's a single mom. Her name's Jody. And she runs the Rescue River Ranch in Leavenworth. It's a rescue ranch where she takes in animals, sheep, goats, horses, pigs, turkeys, chickens. And to fund this, to buy all the feed and the vet bills and take care of these animals at this rescue ranch, she has tours where families can come, pay a small fee, and go through and see farm animals. And Jay Inslee ordered her shut down, and if she operated after this last Monday, she was going to be fined $10,000 a day. She has no income. If you get a chance later on Facebook, Rescue River Ranch, give her a like, give her some love, watch her video. It's absolutely heartbreaking. This is a single mom trying to hold on to her family farm and provide a good service to take care of animals, and Jay Inslee is shutting her down and going to fine her if she continues. It's absolutely pathetic. It's unacceptable. So what will I do as governor and another virus comes around, right? Well, first of all, let me tell you what I'll do with this one. If there's any restrictions left down by Jay Inslee when I take office, they will be eliminated by executive order day one. No one cares about our health more than we do personally, right? Jay Inslee says he cares about our health. That's why he's telling some people they got to stay home, some people they can go to work. Well, Jay Inslee in February signed a bill into law that lowers the penalty for intentionally infecting someone with HIV. He lowered it from a felony where it should be to a misdemeanor. I'm not talking about accidentally infecting someone with HIV. I'm talking intentionally infecting someone with HIV. He lowered the penalty. And this is someone who says he cares about our health. He needs to be out of office like yesterday. So when I'm governor and another virus comes around, because we know there's going to be more, right? This isn't the first virus we've had. We've had Ebola, bird flu, swine flu, AIDS. They come and they go. When I'm governor, I will have a firm grasp on the Constitution and the rule of law. Yes. Remember, Article 1, Section 1, the power is inherent in the people and government is there to protect citizens' rights. How about Article 1, Section 7 of the Washington State Constitution? No citizen shall be disturbed in their private affairs. Have we been disturbed in our private affairs or what? I will have a firm grasp on the rule of law and the Constitution and my oath of office to uphold and defend that document. Because that document tells our government what it can and can't do. It doesn't tell us what we can and can't do. It tells our government what it can and can't do. So when the next virus comes around and I'm governor, I will have press conferences with the medical professionals to explain to citizens what's going on, what we should do to protect ourselves, our family, and our business, what might happen if we don't follow the medical advice, and then as governor, make sure the supply chain is as open as possible for the equipment that's needed, and then let free individual citizens decide what's best for themselves, their family, and their business. That's how you're governor over free people. We are Americans, right? Our forefathers fought and died against the world's superpower at the time to bring freedom to America. And here we are in 2020 with a governor dictating what we're going to do in our daily lives and what we're going to wear and who's going to go to work and who's not going to go to work. That's what happens when you have a governor who does not understand their role. His job is to run the executive branch of the state government and protect citizens' rights, not dictate to us on a daily basis what we're going to do and what we're not going to do. Get fired up.
Yes.
I ran my own business for 20 years. I know how hard it is to run a business in this state. This is not a business-friendly state. It's not a family-friendly state. How about that sex ed bill that he signed into law? What a bunch of garbage. What a bunch of garbage. It never ends with this guy. Right? That is going to be on the ballot in November. We need to vote that out. Yes? It's disgusting. I don't know, like a group of pedophiles got together and wrote that up. It's horrible. And he signed it into law. Unacceptable. Unacceptable. I will have a firm grasp on that Constitution and the rule of law, because that's what tells the government it can and can't do. You know, right now, we've got Jay Inslee in there, and he's acting like, I mean, imagine a football game, right? Imagine a football game, and you've got referees that are throwing the flag and blowing the whistle on every play and changing the rules, right? How long would the players want to play that game, and who would want to watch? It would be total confusion and mayhem, and that's what's going on in Washington State right now. It's unacceptable.
Unacceptable.
We have got to get our government back within the confines of the Constitution and the rule of law. We have got to return freedom and liberty to the citizens of this state. That's what government is there for. We cannot continue with someone changing the rules every single day based on what their consultants that we're paying for tell them to do. It's unacceptable.
Empathetic.
Individual freedom and liberty is what we get when we have a government that follows the rule of law and the Constitution, right? That's the great thing about the founding of our country. That's how it was set up. We are ruled by law, not by what someone decides one day. That's what Jay Inslee doesn't understand. We need to bring that back. And that message is going across the political aisle. I am having lots of Democrats. Just last night we were here. Had a lot of Democrats in the meet and greet line after I was done speaking. Said they've never voted for a Republican in their life, never thought about it. But they see what's going on. And they hear my message, and for the first time in their life, they're voting for a Republican. And that is how we're going to win this. Because the rule of law, when the government gets within the confines of that Constitution and stays there, everyone is protected equally. It doesn't matter the color of your skin. It doesn't matter your education, your sex, your income, or what you do for a living. Everyone is protected equally under the law. And that message doesn't matter if you're Democrat or Republican. Everyone is protected equally under the law. That's how this country was set up. And that's what we need to get back to. That is individual freedom and liberty. That is a government that stays within its means. Right now, Jay Inslee's been in office for 8 years, and the state budget has doubled in his time. It's gone from $30 billion to $60 billion. That's how much the government is spending. Are the roads any better? No. Are the services we get from our government any better? No. But the spending has doubled. And that money does not come from the government making a product and selling it, making a profit like a small business, right? That money comes right out of our pockets. It comes right out of our businesses. To go from $30 billion to $60 billion in 8 or 9 years is absolutely unacceptable. Jay Inslee thinks that government has all the answers, but I remember a quote from Ronald Reagan in the 80s. The government is not the answer. Government is the problem. And I'm not anti-government. I am anti-big government. And with your help, we will get Jay Inslee out of office and return individual freedom and liberty to this state in November. I want to tell you guys a real quick story. Something that really touched my heart, made me very, very proud to be an American. Back in 1983, I was in the United States Army, and I was stationed overseas in South Korea. My wife, my 2 little boys had to stay home because I was up by the DMZ with the 2nd Infantry Division. I didn't see my family for a year. This was back when communication was with a pen and a piece of paper. an envelope and a stamp, right? Remember that? Yeah, we had no internet. I got one phone call a month to call home and talk to my family. I didn't see them for over a year. But I want to tell you something that happened to me when I was in Korea that touched my heart and made me so proud to be an American. There was a joint military exercise that went on every single year. It was called Team Spirit. And the military of South Korea and the military of the United States, all branches, got together on a joint exercise that would span the entire country of South Korea. And I was in the Army, so we traveled around in trucks and jeeps full of American soldiers. And we would travel around in convoys from one place to the next to set up to do our military exercises. And when we would drive around those gravel, dirt country roads, there'd be villages that were dotted along those roads. And every time that our convoy would come up close to a village, all the people that lived in those villages would run up and stand alongside the road. Little kids, older people. And then when they would stand there as we're driving by, they'd hear us coming. And they would start waving and smiling as we drove by. And in their other hand, they would have little American flags. And it made me so proud to be an American. They didn't care what color we were. They didn't care what religion we were. They didn't care where we came from. They didn't care how much money we made or what rank it was. They cared because we were Americans. We were part of the greatest nation in the history of the world, and we saved them, and we were protecting them. That's what mattered to them, and that's what we need to get back to here. It doesn't matter. The left wants to divide us by our race, by our sex, by our income, but we need to get back to we are Americans and realize what is important. And I absolutely love this country. I love this state. I want to get this state back to the way it was when I grew up. And with your help, we can do that in November, you guys. Thank you very much. God bless you, and God bless Washington State. I will be right over here if anybody wants to come up and talk to me. I'd love to shake your hand. God bless you.